I count up so much money lately. I count up so much that they hate me. Yeah, I make niggas mad cause they ain't me. Yeah, I been in my bag going crazy. I count up so much money lately. I count up so much that they hate me. Yeah, I make niggas mad cause they ain't me. Yeah, I been in my bag going crazy. Bitch, I'm not.
First don't fuck your bitch in the click you claim. West side when we ride, come equipped with game. You claim to be a player, but I fucked your wife. We bust on bad boys, niggas fuck for life. Plus, Puffy tryna see me weak, hearts I rip. Biggie Smalls and Junior Mafia some more. I think a little higher. I think a little higher.
What's up, we got back on the video? It's your boy PJDRIZZLE, and we got for the last reaction of this Friday evening, we got 10 crazy coincidences that will blow your mind. That ass. So look, it's about 10 minutes long, and let's play it.
Number 10. Death by Mint. Have you ever had that teacher that takes leading by example a little too seriously? Of course you know that they mean well, and after all, they're probably just doing it to be remembered. Well, South African astronomer Denis Dutoit was rather unintentionally one of those teachers. After giving a lecture about death and how it can happen at any time in any place, he sat down and decided to have a tasty minty treat. He then
He ain't wrong, son. Like that, son. Like tomorrow's never promised for y'all. Like that.
Quickly choked and died on a breath mint at his desk. Well, at least that's one lesson that will stick with his students for the rest of their lives. Number 9.
Damn, how can wait? So like, how can you die from a breath mint? Like seriously, like, was it too sugary? Cause like, we got Tic Tac, we got peppermints, we got all these candies that people are eating, and like this nigga just dies from like eating a breath mint from one Tic Tac. He dies. Okay, like I don't believe that.
The Girl from Petrovka. After being cast as the lead in the movie adaptation of George Pfeiffer's book The Girl from Petrovka in 1973, actor Anthony Hopkins felt the need to read the book to better portray his character. Unfortunately for Hopkins, he somehow found himself unable to find a copy anywhere in London, despite looking through most of London's bookshops. At the end of the day, he abandoned his search and began to head home, when he found a copy of the book sitting on a bench all by itself. Oddly, the book was full of scribbles and penned-in sentences, but Hopkins just assumed them to be the work of someone studying the book. So he took the copy and read it. 2 years later, while the movie adaptation was being filmed, Hopkins and Pfeiffer were having a conversation about the movie, during which the author admitted that he didn't actually own a copy of his own book, as he had lent his annotated copy to a friend 2 years earlier. Hopkins then took out the copy he had found on the bench and asked if that was the one that Pfeiffer's friend had misplaced. Surprisingly, and I mean, come on, we wouldn't be putting it in the list if it wasn't. It was, and those scribbles and pen marks found in the margins were written by none other than Pfeiffer himself. So, moral of the story, next time you lose something, go to London and make sure it's not on a bench somewhere or in a famous actor's possession.
Oh, that's crazy, son. Like seriously, it was like, I guess it was like destiny or like his path to find the book in the bench. But like Anthony Hopkins, like he's a good actor. Like he did Silence of the Lambs. He did other movies too. I can't remember, but like no, he was in the Thor movies too. He was Odin. He was Thor's father. So like yeah, he's a good actor. And like seriously, Like he really plays like his role serious.
Number 8. Hitler, Napoleon, the Soviets. These are actually two separate coincidences, but for the sake of the video, we've grouped them together since they both took place during World War II. Firstly, Hitler and Napoleon's lives were very, very similar, despite the fact that they were born and lived 129 years apart. Everything they did in their lives was separated by this same number. Hitler gained power in Germany exactly 129 years after Napoleon came into power in France. He declared war on Russia exactly 129 years after Napoleon did, and he was defeated exactly 129 years after Napoleon was. The Soviets also had a crazy coincidence of their own during this time. A group of archaeologists from the Soviet Union opened the tomb of one of Genghis Khan's descendants, Tamerlane, on June 20th, 1941. Like his ancestor, Tamerlane attempted to conquer Asia. The Soviets found an inscription inside the tomb that read, "Whomsoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." 2 days later, on June 22nd, 1941, Hitler and the Nazis executed Operation Barbarossa and invaded the Soviet Union. Number 7. Hoover Dam Project. In the early 20th century, the people of Nevada and Arizona took on a massive and dangerous project, building the Hoover Dam. There were 3 main reasons for building the dam: to help control the wild Colorado River, to provide water, and to provide hydroelectric energy to the southwest. During the construction of the dam, 112 people lost their lives. This death count is not really surprising when one considers that the workers would work as high as 800 feet in the air and were constantly going into tunnels that were filled with carbon monoxide, a toxic gas. Construction of the dam started after Arthur Powell Davis, the director of the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, proposed the project to Congress in 1922. The first death on December 20th, 1922 was that of J.G. Tierney, not the most positive way to start off a 13-year-long project. But the bill nevertheless continued as planned. Unfortunately, the project ended on a somber tone as well. Exactly 13 years later, on December 20th, 1935, Patrick Tierney was the 112th man to die constructing the dam. Coincidentally, he was J.G. Tierney's son. How poetic.
I'm not really a big like history buff like fan. Like I just learned that in school. Like seriously, like I wasn't really like a I was more of a math guy, son. Like I was not really like into history, son. Like I know all my like history like stories, but I wasn't really like a history buff.
Number 6. Violet Jessup. What do the RMS Olympic, RMS Titanic, and the HMHS Britannic all have in common? A few things, actually. They were all built in the beginning of the 20th century. They were all great ships that seemed to be unsinkable. They all hit something that caused them to sink. They were considered to be sister ships. They all had one common passenger, Miss Violet Jessup. She was present when the RMS Olympic hit the HMS Hawk, when the HMHS Britannic hit a mine.
Yeah, I still don't believe like how like that Titanic ship like hit the iceberg and it just sank. Like it says it sank that whole big ship from one iceberg. Like it had to be like it had to be a setup. It had to be staged or something. Like seriously, you can't just sink after one iceberg. Like the iceberg, it's made of ice, but still like I don't know.
And yes, when the RMS Titanic hit the infamous iceberg. Man, who thought being a stewardess and a nurse could be such hard work? Because of her extraordinary habit of surviving sinking ships, Jessup earned the nickname Miss Unsinkable. Depending on your point of view, Miss Violet Jessup was either the luckiest or unluckiest woman of all time. That, or we let the world's most dangerous serial ship sinker go free. Number 5. Taxi Accident. Apparently, the 70s was an interesting time for taxi drivers. Not only did Robert De Niro's famous movie Taxi Driver come out in that decade, but there was also a pretty interesting set of taxi accidents in Bermuda. In 1975, a man was riding on his moped just like he would any other day, when he was unfortunately hit and killed by one of those usually helpful yellow cars. To make it worse, one unlucky passenger had to witness the accident take.
Yo, if you're not like if you're not a car like a fully like functional car, son, and you're driving on a moped, which is like a motorbike, yo, you're gonna get hit. Like seriously, because these cars do not care for like non-functional like cars. Like they don't care like because like they will hit you. Like seriously, they think that. I feel like they jealous. Like seriously, like people that have like mopeds, like bikes, motorcycles, they feel like they're jealous. So like they just feel like they have the power because they have a full car, and then the other people have a motorcycle, like a moped. Like seriously, like they feel jealous.
Place. Probably not an ideal scene to watch right before going to work. Exactly 1 year later, another man was hit on a moped by a taxi. It was the first victim's brother, riding the same moped that his brother was riding a year earlier when he got hit. The taxi that hit him was being driven by the same taxi driver, and the witness passenger was the same one that was in the taxi the previous year. Perhaps the specific passenger should consider public transit from now on, and pray that the moped brothers don't have any more siblings. Number 4. Taming of the Ships. If you've studied Shakespeare, you've probably heard of this comedy, The Taming of the Shrew. A play.
Nah, the only Shakespeare books is Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, what else? And that's it. That's all I know. Like it says Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet.
Full of funny and sometimes confusing disguises that the characters use to achieve their end goals. Tranio dressed up as Lucentio and Hortensio dressed up as scholars, and a nameless merchant dressed up as Vincentio. You get the idea. Well, in World War I, two ships might have taken the characters in the play a little too seriously. British forces transformed a cruise ship called the RMS Carmania into a battleship and then disguised it as a German passenger ship called the SMS Cap Trafalgar in order to avoid attracting attention from the German war vessels. Now, the Germans had the same idea as the Brits. They took the SMS Cap Trafalgar, turned it into a warship, and disguised it as the British cruise ship, the RMS Carmania. Despite all odds, the two actually met in battle when the German ship later ambushed the British ship off the coast of Brazil on September 14, 1914. The British ship survived the encounter while the German ship sank to the bottom of the ocean. So that's a win for the Carmania, or the Trafalgar, or whatever. You get the idea. Number 3. King Umberto I.
Like all these facts are just history related. So like seriously, like I'm getting bored just like listening to all these like crazy coincidences. Like seriously, I'm not really interested on these history related.
On July 28, 1900, King Umberto I of Italy went to a small restaurant in Monza to eat dinner. He was served by the owner, who also happened to be his doppelganger. The two resembled each other with very similar builds and facial features, striking up conversation between them, during which they found even more similarities. Both of their names were Umberto, and they were both born on March 14, 1844 in the town of Turin, Italy. The restaurant was opened on the same day that the king became the king, and both men married a woman named Margherita, and their marriages took place on the same day. The next day, the king found out.
Wait, so they both managed to find two females that were named Margarita. They both married on the same day. They both were born with the same name. They both like like seriously, both just had to get the same thing, same name, same wife, same everything, right? Like seriously, like that's crazy.
That the restaurant owner had been murdered the night before in a strange shooting incident. As he was expressing his regrets and learning about the other man's death, an anarchist in the crowd assassinated him. Maybe the assassin was just as confused as the two men were to find a pair of identical twins who shared no known blood relation. Number 2. James Dean Carr. Alright, let's start out with the fact that James Dean was killed in an accident.
Selling physical products is not the best way of making money on Amazon in 2021. Now, yes, that model does
while driving his Porsche in 1955, so his car is already off to a not so good start. After the accident, the car was towed and brought into a garage, where the engine promptly fell out, landed on a mechanic's legs, breaking both of them instantly. Despite both of these events, a doctor still thought it would be a good idea to buy the engine and put it into his sports car. Apparently, he didn't get the memo that said engine was responsible for breaking both of a man's legs and ending another man's life. Another race car driver bought the drive shaft from the car, and he and the doctor were in a race together shortly thereafter, during which both of them were killed. The parts were returned and the Dean's Porsche was rebuilt in a garage. Once the car was in one piece again, the garage soon after caught on fire and burned down. You'd think that 5 mishaps would be enough to make people keep their distance from the car, but sadly, no. The car was put on display in Sacramento, where it fell down off its stand, breaking a teen's hip. The car was then transported to Oregon, where a fellow the trailer was in, and smashed into the front of a shop. Because all that still wasn't enough to convince people to leave the car alone, in 1959 the car spontaneously broke into 11 pieces, and people took the hint and left the parts to rot. Number 1. James Twins. twins have been a topic of common interest for what seems like forever. In the 20th century, people were so interested in twins that psychologists performed experiments and observations on sets of twins that would be considered highly unethical and inhumane by today's standards. I guess that's probably why.
Look, about the twins thing, I put in my story as one of these questions, like just for like my IG followers, because I'm like, look, you're identical twins, right? So like, let's just say if like one of them kissed like the other identical twin, like would that be gay? Like seriously, like wouldn't that just be like you kissing yourself? Like, cause like you're both identical, like male or female twins, like y'all both identical. So like, wouldn't that just be like you kissing yourself? Like, just let me know comments. Like, would that be gay or would that be like you just kissing yourself because like for identical twins? Because like, I was just thinking about that. Like, I don't know that just made me like think. Like, seriously, like you're kissing yourself because like it's identical. It's not fraternal. Like you're not like really twins. It's identical. Like same face, same everything. Like seriously, but like y'all let me know in the comment section if it's okay or if it's not okay.
Why they stopped. Although, if they heard about Ohio's James twins, maybe they wouldn't have. After a pair of identical twin boys were born, they were separated and given to two different adoptive families. Despite neither family being in contact with each other, both of the boys were named James. The two boys grew up separately, not knowing anything about the other's existence. Now hold on to your hats, because this is where things really start to get weird. Both men became police officers when they grew up. They both married a woman named Linda and had sons, and one twin named his son James Allen.
Why did I get the same wife named Linda? Like I don't get it. So like seriously, like what was so special about Linda? Like the name Linda, like seriously.
With one L, and the other named his son James Allen with two L's. Both twins had a dog named Toy. After they both got divorced from their respective Lindas, they both remarried a woman named Betty.
How? Like seriously, like how can you like find? I feel like they had like some twin telepathy or something like that made them like remarry with the same name Betty. Like that can't be like that gotta be a coincidence, yeah. Like that can't be like I want this female named Betty and I also want this female named Betty. Like seriously, there has to be like a twin telepathy type of thing. Alright, so that's it. That was the whole like 10 crazy coincidence that will blow your mind. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, repost, and share to all social media platforms. Don't forget to hit the post notification bell for future videos. And also, if you want the merch, get it at teespring.com /PJDRIZZLE Mildads Gang. And if you want to become a brand ambassador, just let me know on my IG at PJDRIZZLE. And if you're interested, I'll put you on the list for the Smash the Pass face-to-face video. DM me on my same IG at PJDRIZZLE, and I am PJDRIZZLE21, and we are PJDRIZZLE Gang.
Bitches, we keep on